I spent several hours on it and cleared up some problems, and now I'm going to show you how this actually works. Open up Treebard. This time we're going to do the same as we did last time. Import the same file, which hasn't changed. And we're going to call it Teal 001. Then we're creating the blank database by copying from a model, SQLite model that has tables already in it, and putting stuff in some of the tables. And we're going to start the import process. Okay, now before we can actually start the import process, we have to up GEDCOM places to UNIGEDS places. I told you last time UNIGEDS is the database structure of Treebard, and anybody else who wants to use it as the database structure of their GENIware. Therefore, it can replace GEDCOM for anybody who wants to use it as their back end, because you just trade the whole database instead of all this rigmarole of GEDCOM. Upgrade GEDCOM places. Let's see what happens. These are all the nested places. Nested places like Hubert Cemetery, which is inside Raoul Valley, which is inside Carver County, which is inside Oklahoma, which is inside the United States. Okay, that's a nested place. These are all nested places. Some of them share a place, like look at that. That's all the Texas places. Okay, now what GEDCOM does is it makes you repeat this whole string. Every time you want to mention Hubert Cemetery, you got to repeat all this, and there's no ID numbers for anything, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that, because in Treebard or in UNIGEDS, or both of them, you have an ID for Hubert Cemetery, you have an ID for Raoul Valley, you have an ID for each of these single places. Then you have an ID for this long nested place. That's a different ID. It's a different sort of thing. And then you have an ID for each place name also. For example, here you got US and United States. Those are the same place with two different names. So you got a name ID for US, you got a name ID for United States of America, but they're both linked to the same place ID. A place ID is not named, but you use the place ID as a foreign key in the place name table in the database. Okay, let's start with the big places. So you click one United States, they all get clicked. This is how this works. I'm holding down the control button and clicking all the places that are the same, only the same ones. Oh, there's one more. Okay, let's go next. Now they turn gray, so they've been handled. There you go. There's only one place called Texas right now. PI. Let's see. There's 3 Philippines. I happen to know. This is a little bit clunky, but it saved you a lot of work. It's worth the trouble. Okay. This is serious upgrade of GEDCOM places. Very much worth the trouble. Okay. Panabo and Panabo are the same place. Mississippi, there's only one. Arizona. Okay, here's Paris now. Look, there's 4 places called Paris. There's Paris, France, Paris, United States, Paris, Texas, USA, Paris, Lamar County, Texas, USA. Okay, now they all turn red because they all say Paris, but this one is a different place. The other 3 are all the same place. But I want to hit the Paris, no control button, just see, turn it black. I don't want to include that one. Now I identified all these 3 red ones as the same place. I hit next. Okay, now I go Paris, France. There's only one. Go next. Okay, extremely necessary. Let me see. This is the first draft. Maybe I can make it a little more convenient, but it's all right. I like it. It's kind of fun, really. On a really big tree with lots and lots of places, I can see it get a little bit hairy, but it's better than getting all your places wrong, which is what the other GENIwares do. You say Paris, so it could mean anything. You don't have to do this for every single place. You can do it for every single place. See, I don't think there's any other. No, there's one more. That's the one I've been looking for. Well, see, now there's 2 of those. That's what I'm looking for. Dallas City and Dallas. Control, click. Now they're both highlighted. Hit next. The rest of them, these are all unique. One of these, one of these, one of these, one of these. Okay, the rest are all unhighlighted places are all unique. So hit that. Everything's grayed out. Okay, and now I can go done. We're done. Okay, now those places have all been upgraded and they're ready to go into UNIGEDS properly. You've got a place ID for each single place. You've got a nested place ID for each nested place so that you, when you start typing in a place field in Treebard's GUI, then it's going to fill in. You just type 1 or 2 characters and the whole thing fills in. And it fills in the right stuff. Then you've got place name IDs. Add GEDCOM data to new tree. Okay, now we're getting the actual GEDCOM is going into the database right now. I already told you last time we read through that whole GEDCOM and its various versions several times. You see that only took split seconds. It was very fast. It's not a very big GEDCOM, but it's very fast. This is the slow part. This is going to take about 1¼ minutes to add all the GEDCOM. Here's the whole GEDCOM file. It's 1,312 lines long. And to add all that whole thing to the database is going to take about 1¼ minute. Click this first. Now see, this becomes unavailable. You don't want to mess with it. Yeah, I just walk away from the computer while this is running. Okay, and here we are. Now all the buttons have been used and you can't click them again because they're all grayed out. We can open up the tree that we just made, which we'll do in a minute. See, now it says Teal 001 and we're going to open it. But first, let's look at the exceptions log. 18 December, that's today, 2023, 1559, almost 1600. 12 plus 4, that's 4 p.m. And this tells you the location of the GEDCOM file that you imported. Tells you who imported or what app imported it. That's Treebard GPS. Tells you we're importing it to UNIGEDS, the Universal Genealogy Database Structure, and the replacement for GEDCOM. That's a little plug, I guess. Non-GEDCOM tags. This is what we just did, and this is a header. Now there's all kinds of information that we did not put in here yet. I haven't done that yet, but it's in a Python dictionary waiting to be put in. On these down here, these do have the data on these other issues that we had where we couldn't input some data or haven't got around to it yet, one or the other. We could input anything, but locators linked only. These are just various different things where I don't care for the way GEDCOM does something and it's really kind of extra work and it's not very important. Stuff that can be done later. We're getting all the main stuff and that's the important part. And it's also important to tell the user what has not been done so they can look through it themselves. Here, I told you about this in the last movie. Here are imprecise family events where this event of this residence event and its subordinate tags are all in a family record, as if this residence was true for everybody in the family, which is imprecise. That's not good enough for UNIGEDS. UNIGEDS is the, what you might say, the file sharing standard of the future, and it's not good enough. Maybe it was good enough for GEDCOM back in 1984 when they created GEDCOM, but that's not precise enough. We need to get a little closer to actual reality, because little Johnny could have been in the reformatory, you know. We don't know that they're all living in the same place at the same time just because that family happens to be on the census. And if you look at the census and read what it says, well, little Johnny wasn't there. Okay, well, maybe he was visiting his aunt for a couple of years. Who knows? I got to show you about the export. The export works out. We had to work on that for 2 weeks. I've been working on the import for over 2 years. I finished the export in 2 weeks. It's so easy. Open up Teal 001, and it takes a few seconds. Default person number 1 can be replaced. I just want to show you the stuff that's in there. Let's say R.A. Teal, Russell Andy Teal. Change the current person, and there's Russell Andy Teal. He's got a first wife and a second wife. There are no parents showing. These are things that need to be fixed. Here's Lloyd. Now see, he's got parents because in the GEDCOM they were put in a certain way. Because see, GEDCOM lets you do, some things are optional and some things you do it two different ways, and you can do it this way or you can do it that way. That's not a standard. This was done right. So Lloyd's parents showed up. Okay, and there's different ways to do it. So data did in fact go in to the database. Here we've got a source, a citation, an assertion, repository, dialog works. I've been totally obsessed with GEDCOM for about 4 months, haven't done anything else except GEDCOM. Working full time on this. That was what I left off on 4 months ago when I said, okay, this is the last thing I have to do is the Places tab before I can say that Chapter 2 of Treebard development is finally finished and I can post all the code again. And then I said, oh, I guess I'll do GEDCOM. It'll only take a couple of days, right? So that was 4 months ago. This is Treebard proper. It's like a start page kind of a thing. So let's see what happens here. We're going to select the name of an existing tree. Let's just try exporting the tree that we just made. See what happens. Let's put down Professor. Good enough. And see what happens. Export to GEDCOM file. There's the head. There's the first individual, Russell Andy Teal. So it worked. Oh, nope. It's not finished. It ran into an error and didn't finish. But anyways, you can see that it tried to work, and the export function is working good, or it was the last time I played with it. And then for each thing that you try to export, you will find certain problems that still need to be handled. Now I'm going to show you gedMOM. gedMOM is a gedcomoid, which means it's a text file, kind of like GEDCOM. Copy some of this over onto here. I'm going to clean this up a little. Okay, gedMOM is a teaching tool. It's a gedcomoid. It could be used for importing into UNIGEDS. It matches the structure of UNIGEDS. So let's just start out. I'm going to translate this little section of GEDCOM into gedMOM. gedMOM. Okay, right here. Now there's an individual, number 1. Person 1. There's a name. The GEDCOM doesn't give us an ID for it, so let's just make one up. There's a source. By the way, this name is linked to individual 1. Instead of this subordinate structure, see, we got none of these leading line numbers. We don't need those. We're going to use primary keys and foreign keys as if this is a database, and that's why it goes straight into a SQL database. It's real slick. It just slides right in. Okay, so we're going to have a foreign key for the person 1. Whoops. Let's say FK here. Make it very clear what's going on. Next, we've got a source. We've got a citation. In other words, page key, and this is going to need an ID, so we just make one up. Okay. And the citation text, citation string is this. This is gedMOM. Data doesn't mean anything. It shouldn't be there. It's in the way. Text means assertion, so we've got an assertion here. Assertion number, that should have a ID, so we'll just give it one. In an assertion record, you link the citation foreign key, that's 38, and the name. This is a assertion about the name. And the census said his whole entire birthday. It was such a miracle because it's a distinctive birthday, and I couldn't find the guy because he had 2 names. So you link the name also, because it's an assertion about the name. And that name ID was 389. Gender goes in the person table. That's male. I don't say M and F. I say male and female or unknown. There's a birth event, so we need an event ID. Now in here we're going to have the person who was born. Foreign key, that's person 1. And there's going to be an event date. You don't say date, you say event date, because there's other things that have dates besides just events. Something like that. It's not the right formatting for gedMOM. Okay, now this note needs to be linked to the individual. There's a table in UNIGEDS called notes links, and that has some ID. You just put the 2 foreign keys. We're linking the person, the note. 144. We need a name. Just make up an ID because GEDCOM doesn't have one. GEDCOM is missing a lot. Then we've got a person ID here. Each person ID has a name. We got a name string, which is Russell Andy Teal. We've got a name sorter, name, which is Teal, Russell, Andy. We haven't actually gotten to it yet, but there will be a note string, whatever that happens to be. We need an event type. Event type. This is a foreign key. Event types have their own table. We have a table called event type, and that event type string is birth. There's source, title. I don't know what the source is. Let's say 1880 census. And then in the citation, that's where you link the source. Foreign key 9. There is a right place and a wrong place to put these foreign keys. And this is something I harp on this thing constantly because it's something that GEDCOM ignores for the most part. It gets wrong quite a bit. It's called cardinality. It's relationship types. There are 3 different main kinds of relationships in data. And in SQL especially, you have to know how to use these things. So one-to-one relationship, for example, the gender and the person, that's a one-to-one relationship. And then one-to-many relationship, for example, person and name. The name is the many side because one person can have many names, but each name refers to only one person. So you put the forward key in the many side. That's the name, because one person, many names. Therefore, you put the foreign key in the many side. And then we've got a many-to-many relationship here because each person could be linked to many notes, and each note in UNIGEDS can be linked to many people as well as anything else you want to link it to. Note number 144, you can link that to anything you want. There's a lot more information about this on the blog treebard.proboards.com. All right, so I'll make a movie about export when I work the bugs out of that again. I got a 200-page rant on what it's like to actually try to write an import program for GEDCOM, and it's kind of technical, and it's nice and peppery. It's full of all kinds of rantish remarks, and there's a little bit of sarcasm here and there. I'm going to spice it up, and that will be given to anyone who makes a donation. But the donations are not required because it will also be posted on my website for free. So you can read that at your leisure off of the website, or you can make a donation and get a PDF version, whichever you want. Thanks for showing up. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.